Welcome, City Council members, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to watch this video. With the recent fires in California, I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to talk to you about fire prevention in our city. Now, if I were sitting in your seat, I'd be wondering, why do I need to watch this video? I know how to exit a building in a fire, or what do the fires in California have to do with me? Well, I will tell you, fire prevention is more important than what you do in a fire, because if there is never a fire, then you don't even have to worry about anything. As city council members, we firefighters need your help to keep our city safe and not have to worry about being affected like those in the California fires. During this video, I hope you will think about those affected by the California fires and put yourself in their shoes. With your help, we can prevent losing loved ones, property, including physical memories, and essentially feel like your life was just suddenly taken from you. I will talk about how fire could spread in our city, and then discuss the steps that we can take to educate the citizens so that we can prevent a disaster of that proportion from happening in our city. First, fire spread. The next time you drive around the city, I encourage you to look around for fire code violations. Directly from our city code's compliance, that may be issues such as substandard structures, junked motor vehicles, litter, open storage, illegal dumping, and high grass and weeds. Although all of these pose specific issues for fire spread, I want to focus on buildings and substandard structures for this video. So what is a substandard structure, you might ask? According to codes and compliance on our city's website, a structure can be declared substandard if it is found unfit for human occupancy due to the lack of maintenance or disrepair, and constitutes a hazard to the occupants or the public. So what does that mean exactly? First, we must identify the 5 types of building construction in relation to fire. The New England Institute of Technology lists them as follows. First, fire resistive. As in the name implies, this uses materials such as fire-resistant concrete, brick, and steel materials, and techniques used to minimize fire spread and designed to resist fire, usually 1 to 4 hours. Typically, these buildings stand 70 feet tall, apartments, offices, and hotels, which in Waco, Texas, we do not have those cities, or have those buildings. However, second, non-combustible or buildings built with materials, steel, concrete, and masonry, and the techniques of high resistance to fire and do not release human harmful fumes that do not ignite, burn, or contribute fuel to a fire. These include newer schools, malls, and renovated commercial buildings. Next are the ordinary or functional and economical. These buildings are made of materials such as wood, plaster, and brick veneer. These buildings would need other engineered controls for fire protection, such as sprinklers or fire-resistant coatings. Some schools, buildings, and houses resemble those. Then we have heavy timber. Historic buildings use this method, as often seen in old churches, due to the thickness of the wood. It is more of a natural fire resistance due to its charring on the outside, slowing the spread of flames. Kind of think of it as putting a large log on a fire, or a fireplace, inside a fireplace, or in a fire pit. And then last is the wood frame, and buildings built from wood as the main material, such as the home you probably own and live in today, or the apartment possibly that you're renting out. Exposed wood offers no fire resistance. So knowing that, where would you say our biggest issue in the city is? I would say a heavily populated residential area, but now you need to take into consideration what makes any structure more susceptible for fire spread, such as structural deterioration, that rundown building. Buildings that cannot sustain structural integrity, decay, or deterioration, and exceeding allowable stress levels, the threat of collapse and fueling the fire exists even more so. Now think back to the last restaurant you ate at. Did you notice where the exits were, other than the front door? Was it blocked? Did it have sprinklers to slow the fire? How packed was the restaurant? Do you think you and your family would have been able to get out in enough time fighting with all the others? Threat of loss of life if people cannot exit? What about the presence of hazardous materials? Were any of these materials flammable that would help spread the fire? These accelerate the fire and help the fire progress further. Did you notice any electrical issues such as light switch without a cover or cracked cover, threat of electrical spark creating a fire? Also, what else is damaged and not visible? What about the vacant or unsecured buildings? This allows for those without shelter to seek shelter. I've also seen where these individuals start a fire on a wooden floor for heat. If you answered yes to any of these questions, you were in harm's way and did not even know it at the time. This is why fire code enforcement is crucial, and citizens need to be educated on what to look for and have a way of reporting issues. Fire codes are rules and standards that address all the issues above and more. These rules and standards are there to protect you and your family as well as others. If these codes are not upheld, then if a fire breaks out, then it could lead to the similar events as those in California recently. Do you know how these codes are enforced? If it is a new construction, inspectors must evaluate the structure in different stages of the building to enforce the codes for those buildings. Also, according to Building Magazine, all building materials have fire ratings, and can be improved with certain coatings. These fire ratings are broken down to fire rating classifications based on the following: fire endurance test, flammability test, bush fire testing, fire protective glass testing, specific material tests, and non-standard fire tests. These ratings are then based on classes or classifications. If you have ever looked at a fire extinguisher, you may have noticed the letters ABC. Those are the classes. A is excellent fire resistance, up to 2 hours of exposure to fire before failure. B, slightly lower durations. And C, provide only minutes of protection. Already existing buildings make it harder, especially if it's a privately owned home. Commercial buildings are subject to routine fire inspections. Do you think that is sufficient? Think about how many fire stations are in the city. Do you think they all have time for all the buildings in the city? This is why the citizens need to educate and a way to report issues. Then all reported issues need to be investigated, and if there are violations, the owners fined to try and prevent these issues. As a city council member, I hope that you can use these topics to help educate the public. By educating the public with different means, such as media, the public can know what to look for. If you're older like myself, maybe you still remember the Smokey the Bear commercials. Only you can prevent a forest fire. So through engineering and planning, we can ensure these codes are met. And lastly, we unfortunately need enforcement so that citizens of our city are protected, and we do not have to endure such tragic loss as the California fires. Again, thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to call the Fire Marshal's office, Code Compliance office, or your local fire station for more information. My name is James Folsom, and I appreciate you watching this video today, and I hope you learned something. Thank you.